Hello everyone, I'm Ramon with Ramon at Home, and today I want to show you how to create this beautiful farmhouse chic wreath with a beautiful welcome sign on the bottom. I created this link for you to come back and watch it over and over and over again so you can follow the instructions. I will include links to where to find the materials on the comment section below. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Don't forget to like this video, and let's get started. The materials we're going to use today are floral tape, florist wire, wire cutters, a welcome sign that you can find at my Ramon at Home store, a bird's nest that we're going to add to a wreath form, and a wreath stand. Let's talk about the flowers we're going to use. You can find all of these flowers on my Ramon at Home store, and we're going to use white ranunculus as well as really pretty spray roses, lavender, and a bush of peonies along with roses and really pretty camellia. We're gonna use two types of greenery. We're gonna use a really pretty fern and also a really pretty palm leaf that I absolutely love, and this is my favorite greenery to use in any of my wreaths. Let's get started. The first thing we're gonna do is we're going to tape two wires, one for the back of our wreath and one to tie our bow with. The reason why I want to do that for the wreath is because it'll give you more grip into when you pull in it, and it won't hurt your fingers. Like I said before in some of my tutorials, the best way to do is you spin the top and then you pull and then you spin and then you pull and then you spin and so on and so forth until the whole wire is covered with tape. I cannot give you a better secret than this, because when you put this wire on the back of your wreath and you pull on it to make sure that it's secure, it won't hurt your fingers. I want to say that I really appreciate you guys tuning in to this video. As you all know, I'm really trying to help you create a space that tells your story. I really believe that it is my calling to help you guys with a few tricks of the trade that I've learned throughout the years working in this industry. So I really appreciate you tuning in to this channel. Now that we have taped wires, what we're going to do is we're going to make a bow with really long tails. So the first thing I like to do is measure my tails, and the reason why I want to do that is because I'm going to do some ties on the back of or on the arms of my wreath. So I want tails to be about that long, so I want to go ahead and cut these tails and then put them aside and start with my bow. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay this down, and then I need another set of tails. So what I need to do for that is I measure smaller tails and start my bow right here. If you guys haven't seen how I make bows, there is a video on my playlist on how to make 3 different types of bow. I go into detail about how making this particular style of a bow, and it's really easy. So the only thing that I want to repeat is that you want to stagger them down. You have a center loop, a middle loop, and then you stagger down so you can create a more fluffier bow. And burlap is very reminiscent of the farmhouse style. You see it a lot in the farmhouse style decorating. That's why I wanted to add a little touch of burlap, and I always recommend you do that because it really adds that rustic feel to your wreaths with the rustiness of the form, and then also with the burlap. So I'm going to go ahead and cut right here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my other tails, and then I'm going to layer them on the bottom and let them hang. And with one of my tape wires, what I'm going to do is put it through the loop and then pull that wire to the back. And like I said, it won't hurt your fingers because it's already taped. So I'm going to pull as tight as I can and then spin. And that will be what we tie our bow to the wreath with. Once we have a bow already made, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and put this wire of where we want to hang our wreath with. The reason why I like to do this is so you have a predestined space for your wreath to hang. So what I like to do is I like to put this wire through the form, the grapevine form, and then what I do is I pull and then I just spin around this wire. And because this is made out of a tacky wax, it won't come undone, and the harder you pull, the more it activates that glue for you to be able to hang your wreath on your door. Once you have that wire on your form and it's hanging from your stand, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull this bow right here and just tie it very tight to the back, so to make sure that it doesn't move from where we place it. Now what I like to do is I always like to put my tails to the end, because I won't work with them till the wreath has the rest of the components, which are the flowers and the greenery. So what I like to do is I just fluff this bow like this and I forget about the tails, and this is when the fun really begins. What I like to do with my greenery before I start greening my wreath is cut it all apart. This was one really big bushel of greenery, so what I did is cut it all apart. And I want to show you that this bushel comes in 3 different sizes on the same bush. It comes in a large, medium, and a small. You get a lot of product for next to nothing, and 1 bushel is enough to make 1 entire wreath. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and dip into my glue, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the very back of the wreath, and I'm going to green that wreath form with the bigger pieces, and I want to make sure that they fly as much out as I can, because that's what gives this gun wreath the length that it really needs. So I'm going to start with a large one, then I'm going to move on to a medium size, and I want to be as close as I can to the form to make sure that I fill in all of the gaps. So I'm going to go ahead and add another one on this side. This glue, it's actually it's almost like a stick of glue, but they come in pellets. They came up with this genius idea of melting glue, and like I say, you can find it on my store. You can find those melting pots on Amazon.com. So once I have a few of these greeneries, what I'm going to do, and we don't want to put a whole bunch of greenery because it is a farm style wreath, so I just want to make sure that I cover some of the form where our flowers and our focal point is going to be. So I'm going to start with that particular palm leaf, and then I'm going to cut a few of our ferns just to give it a little bit more texture. I always try to add at least 3 types of greenery to my wreath. The reason why I like to do that is because it gives it a lot of texture. Here's the secret: instead of putting them back to back, if you flip one over, it really will give you that texture that you're looking for. So I'm going to insert a steel pen, and I'm going to add right here, and look how that gives it just another layer of texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add 2 more back to back. I'm going to put a steel pen, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it on the other side to balance it out. Think of your wreath as half. Whatever happens on the right, it needs to happen on the left and a little bit on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this one more and stick it in the top to complete the texture with the greenery. Then we're going to move on to our flowers and our accent flowers. You can also find this bushel of really pretty peonies on my online store, and what I like to do is I just like to break it apart so I can insert one item at a time. And what I do is I put one of the steel picks on my machine, and then what I'm going to start is with the larger ones, and they're going to go closer to the bow. Always insert your focal point towards the bow. And because we have a really large flower and we only have one on the bushel, I'm going to add 2 of these on the other side to make it more of a focal point as well. So I'm going to put a pick on that, and then I'm going to put a pick on this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and insert them just staggered close together. What I like to do is I lift that bow to make sure I don't stick any glue on it, because there's nothing more less appealing than like dots of glue. So I'm going to go ahead and add these 2 guys together right here. Make sure I get them a bend so you can see them both right there. Make sure they go into the form. And then we have this really pretty dahlia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a pick on her, and I'm going to insert her on the top. Make sure there's not a whole bunch of glue so you don't spill your glue. So I'm going to go ahead and put her right there. And that's pretty, but I feel like we need to break it with a little bit of pink. And I have these real pretty pink peonies and a few tulips. So what I'll do is I'm going to separate them in groups of 2. So I'm going to have 2 and 3 that we're going to insert together. So what I like to do with this one is go ahead and cut that stem, put a steel pick on the wreath, on the flower, and then I'm going to go ahead and insert this guy right here as the focal point, and then I'm going to go ahead and insert 2 of these little tulips, and I'm going to cut them really short, and I'm going to pick them together so they come out as one when you insert it onto your form. And because I have one right here, I'm going to go ahead and add one with 2 right here. And what I'll do is I'll add the other peony right here to tie that color all the way to the other side, and I'm gonna add the one lonely tulip on the top to go all the way around. So I'll just insert this right here to balance it off. See how you guys we have pink, and then we're gonna have large, and then we're gonna have a small one at the top. So we're gonna go ahead and add one of these steel picks, and I'm gonna add this over here to the top just to make sure that that color goes all the way around the wreath. Now that we have both of our main colors put into our wreath, we're going to break that color with a little bit of white. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add some of these Ranunculus. They're a smaller flower. I always work with large, medium, and small flowers, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by just inserting some of these white flowers as tight as I can on the form to make sure that they are breaking all of that color apart. The pink and the peach are very striking colors, so you really need a neutralizer to make sure that they are breaking all of that apart, and then also try and group them together. They really look better when they're grouped together. And if you see, we have a tiny little small one right here, so I'm going to go ahead and insert this guy flying out from over here, right here with this other one. And then we're going to add some to the middle just to make sure that, like I said, I'm breaking all that color apart all the way around. It is important to me that the color is balanced because I think that's what makes a really beautiful wreath, when all of your color is pretty balanced throughout the form. So make sure that you have some on the bottom, some in the middle, and some on the top to break all the color from the peach and the pink. Alright, so, and also make sure that you group them together so they make a better statement. Right now I'm just going to go ahead and put some of these little ones. I'm going to go ahead and pick them. And also that's a really pretty part of the texture when you add smaller flowers and larger flowers into your wreath, because it really makes it more realistic. Flowers, they don't grow all on the same size. Some grow up, some grow down. The heavier ones always stay down and the smaller ones always go up, so that's why you want to make sure that you add all these small flowers towards the top, because that's how they grow. They grow in the wilderness. They have that pattern. If you see, heavier flowers tend to go down and then smaller flowers just tend to rise up, and I think it is the weight of the flower that keeps it that way. We're going to go ahead and add one more up here on the top by the bow to make sure that right there, and I think I need one up here too, but I'm going to go ahead and add a small one to the top flying out to add some more texture. Alright, let's see, we're going to put one right there. Perfect. So pretty. Alright, the next thing we're going to add is this really pretty bush of spray roses, and then after that we're going to do the lavender. But I want to explain that these spray roses are going to be another accent flower, and I always try to add 2 items, like a larger item and then 2 smaller items, because it really gives it a lot of texture. I'm always all about the texture. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm not going to put a pick just because I want them to go really close, really close to the form. So I'm going to cut them really short, and then I'm going to not put a pick, and like this one we have to cut right here. Make sure you add them all the way around the wreath, like I said, to add the texture to it. I hope you guys are enjoying this video. I really am having fun putting these looks together for you guys. to help you with your wreath making, your flower making. Alright, let's add one more. Remember to cut it really short. These short flowers, they need to go really tight into the form. So we're going to cut right here and just keep adding to it until this part is really full. I feel like it needs some over here on this side. So I'm going to cut really short, a few more. And if you guys see, I'm dropping everything here because I try not to get rid of any of the foliages and the greeneries that come with the wreaths. So we're going to use those in a minute. Don't think that we're going to get rid of them. We're going to try and get as much money as we can from our greeneries. So I'm going to add that right there. Alright, I think it's looking really good, but I really feel like it needs the wow factor, and that's going to be given to us with our lavender. This is going to be the wispy factor. To me, there's nothing prettier on a wreath than that wispiness that comes with items like lavender. Let me show you what I mean. I'm just going to cut this lavender into smaller pieces. I'm going to go ahead and insert and just let them fly like that. Just let them grow wild, because just that's the lavender nature. So what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to go ahead and cut these guys really short together, and then I'm going to go ahead and pick them together so they are shorter, because we're going to graduate up. So we have a really long one right there. Then we're going to add this medium size one step further up. Think of a ladder, and so go one step up, insert into the wreath, and you see how they're cascading down. We're going to do one more on the other side. So we're going to fluff our lavender once it's picked. And the pretty thing about this lavender, you guys, is because it's wired and you can really bend it however you like. So we're going to insert right here. Right here, remember it graduates down, so we're going to cut one more lavender and we're going to cut it short. And then we're going to pick it together, and then we're going to graduate one step up, which is right about here, and that's where we're going to insert our next lavender. And don't be afraid to get in there, you can always come back and fluff this wreath. And I feel like it needs probably one up here, so we're going to cut one more lavender. This one only has two, so that's a good thing. We need a smaller focal point on the top to go all the way around. So what we can do is always bend them, always play with them. Remember to give them a tug, because they don't grow straight up in the wilderness. So I'm going to go ahead and insert this guy up here on the top, just to always bring the color all the way around. And because there's one right here, I feel like it needs one more right here. So we're going to go ahead and add two more of these lavenders. And look, you guys, I only literally use half of the bushel, and this is so inexpensive, and it gives such a pretty look to your wreath. To me, it's all about the wisp factor, and this lavender really provides that wisp factor. I think two of my favorite items that I have in the store right now are the lavender and this palm greenery, just because you get so much bang for your buck. Literally get all of this stuff for next to nothing. Now I feel like it needs one right here and right here to finish it, but the first thing I want to add is some more of this greenery to put on the background, and I'll show you what I mean. I feel like it needs one right here, so we're going to insert right here to cover that, and I'm going to do it in sections. So because I put that greenery right there, now I have to put a focal right there. It's all about adding the focal point with a background of greenery. That is the best way I can express it to you. Alright, so now let's put this lavender right here. And if you guys can see, it's gone all the way around and it's looking so pretty. Okay, to finish our wreath, we're going to add a few accents, and by that I mean this welcome sign right here on the bottom to welcome all of your guests. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and tape two more wires to hang on to that sign, and one more for a really pretty nest that we're also going to add right there on the focal point. So what you're going to do is you're first of all going to tape these wires. Once again, it's real easy, and the way I like to do it is to put that finger through the loop of the tape, and then I spin and I spin and I pull and I spin. And the reason why I do that, I think I explained this to you guys, is because this wax paper is made out of a tacky wax. The more you pull, the tackier it really becomes. So the more you pull, that gets activated and it hangs on to the wire very, very good. And also when you use it to add an item like this welcome sign, then your fingers will not hurt, and you won't harm your hands. Sometimes, actually when I worked at a flower shop, I used to cut my fingers so much, I hated it. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna go ahead and add this right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and find two spots where I want to wire this, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the wire here, and then I'm gonna spin it around, and that would be our spot number 1. And then spot number 2 we have to remeasure. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it right here. So I'm gonna put it right about here. Like I said, it's really easy to wire these forms, and you can find this welcome sign on my store. It's available now, so go check it out. It's actually fairly inexpensive. So once you have this armature like this with your wires, go ahead and pull them up and down, and then put it to the side, because we're going to need it in a second. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do one wire for this nest, but this I'm not going to tape, because I find that when you tape and you go through a nest, it's really hard to find the wire because it bends. So I'm just going to go ahead and spin it around, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, just put it like that. So what I'm going to do with the tails now is I'm going to pick my longest ones, and I always like to give it a give, and I'm going to go around right here, and I'm just going to add one little knot. I like to always add this little detail to my wreaths. Just do a knot right here so that ribbon will stay where it needs to stay, and make sure you dovetail these tails. Always dovetail. So then I'm going to pick the other longest one, which should be this right here, and I'm gonna go actually sideways, and I'm gonna tie it to the side. This will give this wreath some character instead of just having tails hanging down. So we're gonna go ahead and add that right there, and make another dovetail right here. Always dovetail your wreaths. And what I want to do with these two loose tails, I'm just gonna dovetail one up here, and then I'm going to stagger it down a little bit, and then I'm going to dovetail right here. After that is done, give him a little crunch so the dovetails show. That will determine where this welcome sign will go. So we're going to go ahead and put it right here, and putting these wires through, I'm just going to go ahead and tie it towards the back. These welcome signs can also be spray painted to accommodate a look or a color you're looking for. They come in these really pretty farmhouse gray, and so I'm going to go ahead and tie it really tight right here, and that sign is not going anywhere. Right, once that is tight right here, I really want this nest to be sitting on top of the welcome sign, so I'm going to go ahead and add it right here, like this. And I always like to add a touch of whimsy to my wreaths, and the way I'm going to do that on this particular wreath is I'm going to add one of these cute little birds. And what I like to do is I just like to dip him in glue, just hang on to his right there. And just put him right there, so like he lives in the wreath. Make sure you press, and then I have his partner right here, and we're gonna put him, make sure we dip him in the glue. We're gonna put him right here with our welcome sign. And this will look so pretty on anyone's door. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, make sure you let your friends know about Ramon at home. Refer them to my link, or let them borrow or have them buy this DVD. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and all of your support. Thank you very much, and I hope this has helped you create a space that tells your story. Bye.